Hi, I'm Brian. Kettles on, make yourself a cup of tea. Now, today I want to talk about the new Masters of the Universe reboot, which was announced. Well, it was announced a while ago, but the first look images were released a couple of days ago. And I've got to say, I do like the art style of what they've done for the new Masters of the Universe show. It's a lot better than the art style what they did for the reboot of She-Ra when that was out. So I'm just really going to look at some things in this article here and just talk about some stuff. So first, this is from the Hollywood Reporter. First look at Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe reboot for Netflix. Mark Hamill and Lena Headey lead an all-star cast for the revival of the 80s classic animated series. Now, I loved He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in the 80s. That, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, or Action Forces it was called over here in the UK, Transformers, they were all fantastic. Didn't compare to Battles of Planet though, that was by far my favourite cartoon growing up as a kid. So the article says, Netflix unveiled several photos from its reboot of Masters of the Universe animated series from showrunner Kevin Smith. Our show is to set up the next episode in the Legacy 80s animated series that aired from 1983 to 1985. This is a continuation of that story. We're playing with the original mythology, characters, and revisiting and digging deeper into some of the unresolved storyline. Visually, we also made some conscious decision to lean into the Masters of the Universe line of toys for inspiration as well, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, Masters of the Universe started out as toys in the 80s, and the cartoons were essentially just half our adverts for those toys, but we didn't care. The cartoon was awesome. Still is. And it just goes on to say that he watched the TV series growing up and it was everywhere in the 80s, which it was. It was one of the most popular TV shows that I can remember talking to my friends with as a child. The reruns, repeats of it were everywhere in the 80s. 80s cartoons was just, there's another way to say it, 80s cartoons were just fantastic. The characters started off as toys and ended up becoming part of the global pop culture fabric. So much of this show has been possible because of love and affection for this world at every level of production and fandom surrounding the franchise. The big reason we got such top tier voice talent is because people genuinely want to be a part of this world. And that's true. I mean, if you look at some of the voices they've got for this, Mark Hamill as Skeletor, Lena Headey as Evil Lynn, and then you've got Sarah Michelle Gellar as Teela, and it's not mentioned here, but I also know Kevin Conroy is, I believe, playing Mossman. And Kevin Conroy is Batman from the animated series. He's one of the best voice actors from the 90s. So they have got some top tier voice talent on board with this. And it does say it's a really classic universal action adventure epic about growth, discovery, magic and power. This series explores destiny in a fresh way. There's a lot of reconciling with secrets, betrayal, trust, acceptance, love and ultimately loss. And here at the bottom it's got the official description. The war for Eternia accumulates in the Masters of the Universe revelation. Innovative and action-packed animated series that picks up where the iconic characters left off decades ago. After a cataclysmic battle between He-Man and Skeletor, Eternia is fractured and the Guardians of Grayskull are scattered. And after decades of secrets tore them apart, it's up to Teela to reunite the broken band of heroes and solve the mystery of the missing Sword of Power in a race against time to restore Eternia and prevent the end of the universe. So going off the official description, it sounds like the show is mainly going to centre around Teela, for better words of it, getting the gang back together. Says here, the cataclysmic battle between He-Man and Skeletor, that never happened in the 80s show, so that's going to happen obviously at the start of this show, and which will set up the storyline going forward for Teela to get everybody back together. Now, I'm not going to lie, a Teela-centric He-Man show, which this sounds like it will be, isn't a continuation of the 80s He-Man. The 80s He-Man was He-Man versus Skeletor. It was fantastic, but at the same time, it was daft and campy and over the top. It's just what it was, but I loved it. And if this is meant to be a continuation, now obviously I know they can't do it exactly the same as the 80s show, as much as I would love them to. The 80s daftness of it wouldn't work now, but they should have He-Man and Skeletor being the main focus, and they might do, but going off what the description says, it does sound like Teela is going to be leading up at least a large portion of the show, if not all of it. But I am holding out judgment. I'm not going to cast doubt on the show yet. I don't want to sit here and go it's going to be terrible, because I don't know that. I thought the new She-Ra show was going to be terrible. It was nothing like the original 80s She-Ra show, but you know what? It wasn't too bad either. I sat and watched it with my kids. It's not something I would have chosen to watch by myself, but I have two daughters and they've both wanted to watch it, and it was an enjoyable show, much to my surprise. So I am hoping that this is going to be a good show no matter how it is set up. Now, the animation for this show, for what the stills depict here, what was shown, looks fantastic. It looks high quality. I believe it's done by the same people that done Castlevania on Netflix, which is another fantastic show. But I know the redesign of some of the characters, in particular the redesign of Tila, has, I don't want to say annoyed people, but it's not gone down well with a lot of people. Then they have completely changed how she used to look, which again, I can understand that they want to change how she used to look. I know it's a continuation of the show, but it is a different show. They need merchandise, they have to sell toys. This is ultimately what this show is going to lead to. This and the other Masters of the Universe show, what's coming up on Netflix, it's essentially going to be a lead-in for toys. But the main issue a lot of people have with Tila is Tila now looks a lot like a man. And there'll be people out there that are happy with this design, and there'll be people out there that aren't happy with this design. Do you know what design I liked? The 2002 design. I'd have been happy if they'd have redesigned Tila to look more like the 2002 design. The whole 2002 He-Man cartoon was a fantastic show and was criminally cut short. And the designs for the animation style for this does remind me a lot of the 2002 animation style. I don't know if that was a conscious choice they were going for, but I do think that designing Tila more like the 2002 design, or maybe we could have mixed the original Tila with the 2002 design. I don't know. But the Tila is in here. I mean, is that half of a head shave there? It looks like it is. Or they could have just designed a hair to brush over one side of a head like a mid-2000 emo kid. Surprised there's no black streaks in it. I mean, Tila doesn't even look ginger anymore. She looks more brown-haired. I'm not going to obsess over it too much. The design for Tila, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. Yes, she looks more masculine than feminine now. I mean, she's not the only one. I mean, I don't know what they've done with Orko's face. I mean, that's saying a lot considering literally all you can see of Orko is the eyes. I'm not sure what's going on there. But am I looking forward to this show? Oh yes. Like I say, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is one of my favourite cartoons growing up. I loved it. I loved the 2000 He-Man show. I'm hopefully going to love this show. But I think everyone can agree on one thing. Or I'd like to think everyone can agree on one thing. No matter how good or bad this show turns out to be, how different to the original He-Man show this turns out to be, I'm hoping the one thing we can all agree on is that it's going to be a hell of a lot better than the crap He-Man show we got in the 90s. That's all from me. I'm off to make a fresh cup of tea.